What's up, everyone? It's your boy David here. Today I'm going to be talking about Instagram pods. If you don't know what an Instagram pod is, I'm going to tell you what it is and how it can help you get followers faster. If you do know what an Instagram pod is, hopefully I'll share with you some information about how you can use them to grow your Instagram followers faster and whether or not it even makes sense to use the Instagram pod. All right, so stay tuned and we'll get right into it. Okay, why should you use Instagram pods? Well, the reason why people use Instagram pods is because Instagram uses an algorithm to determine how many people your post gets in front of. So when you post, what ends up happening is that Instagram will show your post to say 100 people, right? Out of those 100 people, depending on how many people engage with your content, liked and commented it, Instagram will determine whether they should show your content to another 100 people. So they kind of go through that process, and the more people interact with your content, especially early on when you first post it, the more people Instagram will actually show your content to. Now, what that means is that in order to show Instagram and its algorithm that your content should be shown to more people, you want to have more people engage with your content, if that makes sense. So that's where Instagram pods come in. What they do is when you post, you have a group of people who you share or network your post with, right? So as soon as you post, what you do is you want to share that post with a group of 10 to 15 people or so. And those people will go and they will like your post, and they'll also comment on your post. What that does is it then tips Instagram's algorithm to say, okay, this post is getting engagement, let's show it to more people. And if the content is any good, the goal of that is that it shows it to enough people where you get a snowball effect, and a lot of people are liking, they're sharing, and they're engaging with your content, and your content goes viral. Now that is the premise behind Instagram pods, is that it gives you more exposure. But Instagram pods also has its downsides. Now the downsides of Instagram pods are that, one, if your content sucks, then it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how many pods you're in, people aren't going to share it. And the second that Instagram shows it to another 100 people outside of your pod, what ends up happening is that it just goes flat. It's not shared, it's not engaged with. So Instagram's algorithm is smarter than that, and your content won't go viral unless it's good content. So that's rule number one. You've got to create great content in order for a pod to actually be useful for you. The second aspect of an Instagram pod is that with your pods, it can be really, really time consuming. 15 people liking and commenting on your post won't make a huge difference. So if you only have one Instagram pod, then what that means is that it won't have a big impact. Now, if you have 5 or 6 Instagram pods that you're in, and say, half of the people are engaging in those Instagram pods, what that means is you might have 50 comments every time you post, right? So when you have that, what ends up happening is when you get those 50 comments or you get those 50 likes, that could have an impact and trigger the algorithm. So what that means is that you have, call it 10 groups of 15 people that you have to engage with their posts on an ongoing basis. So one of the core rules of an Instagram pod or a good Instagram pod is that people reciprocate. And what that means is when you post, they comment and like your post, but also when they post, you're required to comment and like on their post as well. So the problem with that is that it can be really, really time consuming. It can just be a time suck. So that's the downside of using an Instagram pod, is that it can be really time consuming. And if you're not using it the right way, then what ends up happening is that you're just wasting your time. So the things that you want to look at when you're creating an Instagram pod are, one, are you creating great content? Without great content, you should not be using an Instagram pod. Two, the second thing you want to look at is, Are you using multiple Instagram pods? And are you actively engaging in those pods? And are those pods actively engaging with your content? Because without that, engaging in just one or two Instagram pods will not make a huge difference. So it won't be worth your time. Okay, now that we've talked about the basics of Instagram pods and whether or not you should use them, why don't we jump over to my screen where I can show you the nuts and bolts of how they work. All right, so follow me over here. All right, guys, so we're gonna jump right in. I'm just gonna show you how pods work and the kind of like the flow between once you get a post, what you actually have to do. So I'm gonna just jump in. This would be the example of your inbox in Instagram. And so what you can see here is you can see a pod that I have. And basically what happens is you'll go out and you'll invite a bunch of people to your pod, right? And so either you'll get invited to a pod or you can go out and find people. And you can do that just by doing basic searches on Instagram to find profiles that you like, that you think that you might actually want to engage with and are similar to yours. At any rate, once you get your people in your pod, you'll have all these people here, right? And you can have 15 people max in an Instagram DM group. And so when you get those 15 people, you want to have 10 to 15 people or so. Only about half will engage, and over time, people will leave your pod. So there's kind of a shelf life to pods, by the way, where you might get 3 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe 6 weeks out of the pod, and then people will kind of fall off and stop engaging as much after maybe life gets in the way, or they just kind of maybe they find other pods. But pods won't stay active forever, and that's something that is important that you actually want to know about. At any rate, once you get a pod, once you find the 10 people, you invite them into the pod, and then basically what will happen is that once you do a post, you'll either do one of two things. Now, the first thing you can do is you can post an icon. The way that people do is they post an icon that says new. That new notification goes out to everyone in the pod, and what will end up happening is that they will go back and they'll like and comment on your post. Now, when they have liked it, they'll leave a heart. So you just basically just say you'll leave a heart and you say, okay, I liked your comment, to let them know that you've engaged. And that's part of the etiquette of being in a pod, is that you have to reciprocate or else it becomes pointless, right? So you can see this is another pod that I have here. And the other way you can do is you can actually post your picture in the pod group. People are saying that you shouldn't post a picture because Instagram is tracking whether pictures get shared into pods, and they may penalize you if they aren't already. So that's something you want to take consideration of. Now, I've engaged with this per Michelle's content, and once I engage, I just say, I leave the heart. So that's kind of how it works. It's really basic. You find people, 10 to 15 people, you invite them into a DM group on Instagram. Once you invite them into that group, when they post or when you post, share the link in the group, or you just post like I do, I post new, and then that lets the group know that there's a new post that they should use. So that's the basics of how a DM group works. It's really, really basic, really, really straightforward. Hopefully that's helpful. All right, guys, that's the rundown on how you create an Instagram engagement pod, whether or not you should use them, and how to engage with them on a day-to-day basis. Hopefully that's helpful for you guys, and hopefully it helps you guys grow your Instagram followers even faster. Hopefully it was helpful for you. If it was, definitely hit the like button. That'll share it with other people who might also find it useful. And if you want to get more videos from me, hit the subscribe button. Also, as a bonus, I built a tool that helps you find hashtags faster, and it's free to try out. And I'll leave the link in the description below. So try it out, and I'd love to get your feedback on it and how I can make it better. All right? Thanks so much, and I will talk to you guys next time.